Everyone, sorry I'm late. We're having a bit of trouble with power at the moment. We've had some blackouts recently, and we're having some work done in the area, so everything's a bit late. Sorry about that. I'm not sure how long the power is going to stay on for either, unfortunately, but there it is. Yeah, check if this is working. Okay, seems to be working. I can't see anyone in the chat. Hello, everyone. Here is the link if anyone wants to join the chat. Welcome to join the studio. So let's see. There we go. Just trying to figure out this. Yeah, there we go. All right. So, what are we up to today? Hello, Aaron. How you doing? Good to see you. Let me just check the live thing here going here. Sandy, Josephine is here too. Terry girl, good to see you. I'm more used to in the middle of the night. Middle of the night, California. Okay. All right. So, there we go. We got some chats happening now. Very good. That's working. So, how are we doing today? How is everyone? I saw some, actually, Stephen Thomas, I think, did an article on Substack this week about breathing through the nose. So it's good to see other people are catching on and realizing how important it is. So I'm glad that's happening. He actually did a pretty good article actually on a number of reasons why we should be breathing through the nose, and I think he touched on some of the Buteyko method where trying to convince athletes that they should be breathing through the nose as well. And of course, you always get, whenever you put something that people are not used to, some of the feedback they get are always like, that's impossible. You can't do that sort of thing. Like, same as, athletes need carbs, sort of garbage. But part of the article that he put up was, athletes actually get a better oxygen delivery to the cells if they breathe through the nose. And of course, this guy was a runner, and it's like, but all the top athletes do, breathe through the mouth when they're racing. It's like, just because you see some of these top athletes doing that doesn't mean that that's what should be done. You can get, if you are blowing off too much CO2 and if you're breathing too fast, you could do a lot better. You could do a lot faster marathon or running time if you were breathing through the nose. Okay. For the simple fact that, one, when you're breathing through the nose, you are lowering your heart rate, which means that at speed, if you are just using running as an example because of this article, but this is the same with any sport. If you can keep your heart rate down when you are exerting yourself, it doesn't matter how much you're exerting yourself, obviously you're going to be able to push yourself much faster, okay, or much harder. And of course, the oxygen delivery doesn't, if you're breathing through your mouth a lot and trying to get a lot of air in, that doesn't make any difference to getting the actual oxygen to your cells. Without that CO2 there, the oxygen will not be delivered to the cells anyway. So you need to slow that down. Otherwise, you're starving your cells. And it's fine in a temporary state. So like if you're racing, okay, there's not going to be a lot of damage done. But the thing is that you can perform a lot better if you're breathing through your nose. and it will take some adaptation for many people because they're not used to doing that. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done. Okay, it can very, very well be done, very easily be done. It just takes a little bit of training, a little bit of reprogramming, which we all sort of tend to need. So even if you are a runner or an endurance athlete, breathing through the nose and slowing your heart rate, and that will actually deliver more oxygen to your cells because you have the CO2 there, which is a signaling molecule that actually delivers or helps you deliver or sends the signal to deliver the oxygen to that cell. So your muscles will be cooler as well. This is another thing too. It's about heat as well, because you are getting more oxygen to the cells. That will actually keep your muscles cooler as well. So all in all, it's going to be a much better outcome for any kind of athlete. Let me just remove that for a little bit. There we go. That's getting a bit annoying. There we go. So I just thought I'd touch on that. Hello, Booby Goots. Aaron, how you doing? Josephine, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Terry Gill. Hey, Jeannie, how you doing? Links at the top there if anyone wants to join. More than welcome to join the conversation today. I keep coming back to my computer to see what is going on. Must be waiting for a 10-minute count or something. Yeah, sorry, I just had some, there's a bit of power work going on around my area at the moment. So every now and then the power goes out. So I didn't have any power until so that's why I was a bit late. I'm not sure if it's going to last this whole live. So if I do cut out, guys, that would be why. Okay. I can do chores. The sound of silence. Good. Let me see. Breathing in nostrils is as you speak. Yeah. Breathing through the nostrils is always good. It's kind of difficult to do when you're speaking, actually, because people who speak a lot will find that they are mouth breathers as well. Okay. So that's something to be aware of. Yeah. I love this voice and accent. Thanks very much, there you go. Yeah, Aussie accent. Yeah. Not coming on today. Well, that's fine, Jeannie. That's fine. Yeah. So, I think that that same reason that it's not just about athletes either that need to do these sort of things. And some of the top performing athletes these days now who have, for example, taken on the Buteyko method, like MMA fighters, sprinters, and even some other professional athletes who take this on have dramatically improved their performance. So but that's just on the elite sort of side of things. I think it's just as important for everyday people, for everyone, general population, to be getting this right. It might take some adaptation, especially when you're starting to do some exercise. If you're going from a sedentary lifestyle as well into just mildly starting some exercise of some sort or activity. It doesn't even have to be exercise. It can be just even going to work, for example. This can lead to people mouth breathing because they are exerting themselves more than they are used to. So whenever there's a change in your activity levels and you start exerting yourself, people tend to, these days anyway, they tend to just mouth breathe because they feel like they need to get more oxygen. But that gasping that you are feeling is not due to a lack of oxygen. Well, it is due to a lack of oxygen getting to your cells, but it's because you're blowing off too much CO2. Okay, so that gasping feeling, okay, just need to improve your CO2 tolerance, and then that will reduce heart rate, make you feel more relaxed, feel more comfortable while you're exerting yourself. And then of course if you are nose breathing, you'll get more oxygen to the cells themselves, and that will feel a lot more comfortable when you are trying to start more activity. So it's something just to be conscious of, and once you are conscious of that, of the way you are breathing, it will make it much easier for you to actually try and keep in that rhythm. um, isn't it great you can breathe through your mouth in case your nose is totally blocked? Yeah, I guess so. um, but that's, I mean, that's why I always do, like, first thing, like my morning routine. Part of the warm up for my breathing exercises are usually the alternate nostril breathing, because the Nadi Shodhana, it's what it's labeled, but it's just alternate nostril breathing. Um, Even if I wake up with a blocked nose, and that will happen if you are mouth breathing as well. If you wake up with a blocked nose, it's usually due to mouth breathing while you're sleeping, and that will happen during the day as well. If you are mouth breathing, your nasal passages will block up, okay, because they're not meant to be doing that. Now, um, forcing yourself to breathe through the nose, okay, like I said, like that's one of the first things I do, because you are because you are starting to, you're also going, it might be difficult at first, but after a few rounds you're going to feel much easier, because the nitric oxide production is going to relax all the blood vessels and all the nasal passages and everything around, because it's a vasodilator. So it's going to relax all the nasal passages, and it'll also help to move any kind of mucus that might be backed up in the passages there. So it's a really good idea, even if you do have a blocked nose, to at least try and push the air in and out through your nose. Okay, and just, alternate nostril is perfect for that. Um, in that case as well, you're also going to feel more relaxed afterwards because the nitric oxide. So, all right. So I think that's enough about that article. But yeah, it's actually quite a good article for most people, I think. Actually, I'll put a link in there, because for general population and for anyone, I think it's very good. Not a bad read, actually. So let me see. Let me see. Activity. Let's go here. Just trying to find this article for you guys, and I will then show you. It's not a bad art. It's not a bad read. The nose knows best. Here it is. Okay. So just give. I think it's like for general conversation. It's not bad. That's Stephen Thomas's article. Okay. So it just goes through some of the reasons why we should be breathing through the nose anyway, and it gives people a better understanding. So, okay. Let me see what else is there. Let's see. Is there anything else you guys would like to chat about today? What's the actually there's seen some pretty good recipes out there recently too. What's your favorite recipe for or what's your go-to breakfast on carnivore diet? Oh, you're most welcome. Most welcome, Jeannie. Yeah. Just, yeah. Okay. Still getting used to this new platform. Yeah, it's quite funny. So not a lot going on. So I'm a bit early, actually, timing wise, this today because I usually have a Japanese lesson at this time each Saturday. But this week I've got time, no lesson. So bacon and eggs, that's good. That's a good one. Oh, lamb chops are good. Yeah, lamb chops are great. Actually, I just got. Let me see. I got a snack. I was actually going to do a video on this, but they were so good I couldn't stop eating them. I got from Tassie Tallow here in Australia. There's a tallow place. I bought this online. I bought some lamb suet. It's really good, but they have pork crackling. Yeah, that was really good because it's if you buy store bought stuff. This is something you should be careful of too. If you buy store bought things like pork crackling and so on, they usually have seed oils in like in part of the processing, and they'll actually say like on the back of the packet it'll be like seed oil in or be like soy enhanced sort of so on sort of thing. Nothing's enhanced with seed oils, um, but I bought these uh, packets of pork crackling on from Tassie Tallow the other day. Actually, got them last week, but they they look kind of weird. They kind of look like that, the puffy sort of packaging stuff, like for fragile stuff. But they were quite delicious. They were really good. So that's my new old favorite snack. I'm bad for not eating early. My first meal starts around 1 to 4. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, some people just kind of don't feel like eating first thing in the morning. I'm pretty much like that myself. I'm usually up for about 3 to 4 hours before I eat. Yeah. After and I especially won't eat until I've finished my ice bath and breath work and um, sort of morning warm up sort of session. That's, I don't know, I just can't eat before that. So, as everyone has their preferences, So, yeah, all the tricks. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's incredible to me that they think that that's some kind of enhancement. It's the same with like beef jerky. If you buy beef jerky here in Australia, like even at like Costco or unless it's like some specialty sort of like comes from a certain sort of boutique sort of beef jerky sort of place, all of them are like soy enhanced proteins and crap. It's just ridiculous. Yeah. Question: I have a lot of lymph damage to my hip and groin, which has limited my flexibility. Yeah, scar tissue is limiting my movement. It's very painful. Any tips? Um, yeah, it's a difficult thing, isn't it? Scar tissue can very much limit you, but I think that like anything, it can stretch. Like same as like any tissue in the body throughout the body can stretch. Right? if it's not too painful, like I don't think whenever you stretch, for example, I don't think you should get stretched to a point where it's causing you a lot of pain. Just to a point where it feels comfortable enough that you can push yourself just a little bit further, so that you get a little bit more flexibility out of it, right? And same with like nerve stretching, like neural stretching is a big one. That can be quite painful, but very very effective. So because it's not just muscle tissue or connective tissue that restricts our movement. It's also nerve tissue, right? And that can be more painful than the muscle tissue and so on. So it's really about changing the angle. Sometimes it can be the angle that you are moving or the angle that you are stretching on. And that can make a very big difference. For me, it's a matter of just trying different angles to see which is more comfortable and see how you can increase that flexibility a little bit, even if you just spend, like static stretching is probably going to be the easiest, or sort of maybe the safest way to start with anyway, especially in that situation. So just bring yourself to the point of stretching, but not pain. Okay, just to the point of a light stretch and static hold for say 10 to 15 seconds. And then from there, like it'll just take time to get to increase the flexibility of that. I know scar tissue can be very restricting, but that in itself can also stretch as well, right? And again, if it does get too painful, then just change the angle. So like if you're stretching your legs, for example, if you have your leg elevated on a chair, perhaps, if you change the angle of your foot, if, for example, you're going like a straight foot, you're going to get more of a hamstring stretch, okay? If you pull your toes back and inward, that's going to be more of a neural stretch, and you're going to feel it on the inside of the thigh more and behind the knee, and it'll be more tendon and neural stretching. If you change the angle of the foot to the outside, it's going to change the area of stretch as well. You can also rotate the femur, rotate the hip a bit. That will also change the where you're going to stretch as well, like the feeling and just how effective it's going to be. Well, that's really up to you, but it can also change. You might actually be able to avoid the pain, or you might just limit the pain a little bit. So another thing that could help is breathing. I know yoga uses breathing. This is why yoga actually uses breathing, because when they are doing these different poses and different stretches and so on, when you breathe out, you breathe in slowly. It's about slow breathing again, because that activates your vagus nerve, and vagus nerve is what controls pain throughout your body. So if you are slow breathing while you're doing these stretching, and relax on the stretch, relax your air out just very slowly, very gently, that will bring you into that vagal state, and also help you to get more stretch, more flexibility, but also limit the pain. Okay, so these are things that you could use. Some tips maybe. Another thing you could do is a bit of red light therapy might help as well, because I'll show you. Like I have a red light sort of therapy thing here. Okay, so like these are quite good. It's very good for pain, and green light is not another good one as well. They they're making green light therapy, things like this as well now, which is very good for pain. Okay, a lot of people use it for headaches, but it's also good for muscle pain. Now these, I I put these on, say, for 10 minutes in one certain area, and that will actually warm. You'll feel the warmth coming out in the area, and it's very good for recovery, very good for pain relief. Um, yeah, I mean, I find it's a great tool actually for any area that might be uh, quite painful. So you could try that. You know, red light therapy or green light. Okay, also very good. Yeah, scar tissue from radiation. Yeah, I know. Yeah, unfortunately, radiation does give us uh, a lot of scar tissue afterwards. I have a lot of fibrosis on my organs. Well, I'm not sure what the actually. I'm not sure how much is there now, but after the transplant, like I had quite a bit of damage on my liver and my kidneys and my heart and my brain. Actually, I had fibrosis even on my brain. So yeah, radiation does a lot of damage to your tissues, and they will cause flexibility problems. Like I'm actually going through that at the moment, like trying to increase my flexibility as well. So I used to be very, very flexible actually when I was in my 20s and 30s. Right up until I started doing treatments. Really, um, yeah, I'll probably never get back to that kind of flexibility, but um, it's really just a matter of, like I said, there are good things like the red light therapy. I think will help. Um, but changing the angle while you're stretching, these things can help, like to avoid the pain. Yeah, these things can help as well. Yeah, for melanoma. Yeah, it's nerve, and I hate it. Yeah, nerve. I mean, that's the thing when you get scar tissue, that's always it's really very painful again, because that scar tissue is not really meant to be there, and it sort of presses up against the nerve, and when you put pressure on it and sort of squeeze the nerve a bit, that's when you get a lot of pain. That's why changing angles can help. The red light therapy could help to relax all that area beforehand as well. It certainly helped to relax the muscle tissue and the connective tissue, which might help with the stretching as well and the flexibility. Especially, I like to use it when the muscles are fatigued, and uh, it's also very good, so if you've been overtraining, for example, or the joints are sore, if you have any kind of joint pain or anything like that, I like to use the red light therapy because it's very, very, very good for that, for relaxing the whole area. So I would give that a try. Yeah, static stretching is good. So especially when there's scar tissue. Like scar tissue usually heals very solid, but very, very tight though. And trying to, rather than doing a dynamic stretch, or you could injure yourself more and increase the scar tissue. So I think it's good to be a static stretch. I have a handheld red light. Oh, that's good. That my radiologist gave me. Oh, that's good. But I'm not sure it's doing much. I feel the warmth, but everything is still tight. Yeah. I mean, it's not a miracle cure, and it takes time. That's actually why I like this. I like this because I can put this directly onto my skin. Like I can wrap it around, because it's quite long actually. So this pretty much goes right around my torso as well. Yeah. So that's, you can see. quite long. So I can wrap that around. You can wrap that around your leg, for example. You could wrap that around your hips. I wrap it around. I can wrap it around my my abs or my chest or my shoulder. I wrap it around my arms, and so on. So something like that can be very useful, and they're very cheap. Like that was like 100 Australian dollars, and for I mean for what it does, I think it's very useful. Once that heat is in there, because you do get the heat, you just feel the warmth. That is helping to relax everything in there. So, and it does speed up recovery, but it's going to take a long time to sort of get to where you want to go, and that's just like that's an ongoing thing. Unfortunately, it's a lifelong thing, really. Maintaining, like, even when you get to a certain level of fitness or a certain level of flexibility, it takes a lifetime to maintain that, because this is not about an end goal. It's about a a maintenance sort of thing for the rest of your life. It's the journey of life, I guess. Unfortunately, like, it'd be great if we could just go to the gym once and just, it's all good now. Don't have to worry about it anymore. But unfortunately, we have to maintain these things. I can't really think of anything else that might speed things up, other than, well, actually, cold would help as well. Cold therapy can reduce the inflammation, especially around scar tissue. You're going to get a lot of inflammation, all right? So cold therapy would be really good. So even if you did, say, a cold shower before you did a warm up, okay, so you're reducing the inflammation before you do the exercise or the stretching, for example. That's going to help reduce any kind of pain or inflammation afterwards as well, before you start anyway. So it'll make it a little bit easier while you are actually doing the exercise yourself. But for joints like that, routine wise, that's what I would do. I'd probably do, because I always do the ice bath first thing in the morning anyway, so that really helps me a lot. So I would, if I was you, I'd do, say, cold shower, then maybe use red light to help you warm up the joints, okay, around the area, and then do light static stretching, and that would hopefully reduce any kind of pain that you might have. And again, changing angles of your feet, changing angles of your hips and your knees, for example, this can also avoid the pain or reduce it anyway. And breathing will also help with that too. Okay, so that's what I would try anyway. So well, I hope that helps anyway. That's what I would be doing. Let's see, anything else? All right, so I know it's I suppose there's I mean, this is the big thing about radiation. With these treatments that they give us, they never really tell us about the side effects. They do give us a heap of reading information, for example, and I guess it's always different for everyone as well. We all sort of react differently, but they never really tell you about the scarring and tissue damage and things like that happens for the lifestyle that you have later after you've had these treatments. But I guess that's pretty low on their priorities, really. And I'm not sure even if doctors realize that either. So, oh well. So is there anything else there? Let's see. I think actually, when I was talking to Dr. Seeger about this, actually, the cold therapy, that in itself is another tool to help with scarring, because it releases more new healthy mitochondria. Okay, and that, I mean, because when you activate your brown adipose tissue from the cold, that brown adipose tissue is where new fresh mitochondria are actually made. Okay, so it's when that gets released into, it also stimulates the release of those mitochondria into the bloodstream, which goes to all tissue around the body for repair. You know? So this will actually help with scar tissue as well. It was studied. There was a study came out last year showing that this mitochondria actually moved to help, or they were actually just focused on the heart, but they showed that cold therapy released the new, fresh, healthy mitochondria, and that actually repaired tissue on the heart. Okay, now that would include scar tissue on the heart, so fibrosis and things like that. So that would include that's, I mean, that's what the study was related to, but that would include all other tissue around the body. Now, how fast that happens, obviously, is going to depend on how often you do cold therapy, how long you do cold therapy for. Because if you do too long, if you sit in the bath, say half an hour or over an hour, sort of thing, then the longer you sit in the cold water, the longer your mitochondria need to recover. Okay. So that's why I say like 5 to 10 minutes is plenty. Okay, each morning, and on a regular basis, not just once a week or once a month, sort of thing. But the fact that that can actually circulate and repair tissue is one of the probably the most one of the most important hacks that, or processes that we could sort of, that we should be trying to do more of, because we do a lot of tissue damage throughout the day, throughout our lifestyles and everything else, and obviously after treatments and so on. So I think that's one of the reasons why my organ health has improved so much. Because like I said, like after all my treatments, I had fibrosis on my kidneys, my liver, my heart, and my brain. Now, I mean, it's not going to be, it's not going to get rid of like 100% of everything, okay? But it is going to help, and any kind of improvement is going to be significant, right? So I think it's important for anyone. Yeah, true. Side effects are different for everyone. Yeah. I mean, we all react differently, even when we're going through treatments. This is one thing that when I was going through treatments, I really wasn't interested in other people's stories, because no one can tell you how you are going to react to chemotherapy, right? Because everyone has it's going to have a different reaction, every single one of us. And especially when you have many other things going on at the same time, like, because I was already, had so much kidney damage, I had so much liver damage, and so on. So it was very difficult for my body to actually process these chemotherapy drugs. It made it very difficult. Plus, I had that large tumor around my aorta, so which is another source of scar tissue I have as well around my aorta. the tumor is gone now, but it still has a lot of scar tissue where the tumor was. So, these are things that hopefully we'll be repairing. But again, it's never going to be 100%. So, some people might have a much easier process or a much easier time with certain chemotherapy drugs. Fortunately, though, here, but they are starting to use other things like immunotherapy, which are much easier on the body than some of the hard stuff that I had. So but for me, it was more about just taking it as how I was I just had to deal with how I was feeling at the time and take it one step at a time, just take it day by day. And that's pretty much all you can do. You can't expect to have the same journey or the same experience as everyone else, or anyone else, right? So it's really about dealing with how you feel on that day, and that's all you can do, really. I feel worse after a hot tub. Yeah, I quit doing it. Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, again, like it's the same for everyone. If some people feel good after a hot tub or like a sauna, for example, some people just don't feel that, and that's fair enough. I do more cold than anything. Cold is great for, like I said, reducing inflammation, but also great for like so many other processes. We also produce more nitric oxide from the cold, which is another good reason for doing that. We produce more light, like in the mitochondria. We actually produce light from the cold, and that will actually stimulate D3 hormone as well. Okay. This is why, like Europeans, like Northern Europeans and so on, they never had D3 deficiencies before in winter. Now everyone's complaining, oh, I live in England or I live in Sweden or wherever, in Norway, and we don't get much sunlight through winter, so I need to supplement with D3. That's horseshit. The cold itself, we actually internally produce our own light in the mitochondria, and that also stimulates D3 hormone release. And again, that cold also stimulates the release of all these, fresh mitochondria and so on. It also stimulates cholesterol production from the liver, which is also going to be, like D3 is also a cholesterol produced hormone, and also testosterone, which is going to produce more EPO. And this is what is going to increase your immune system, okay? Because then you produce more blood cells from the bone marrow and so on and so on. It's a beautiful ecosystem that it's never going to be, you're never going to be deficient just because the seasons change. Our bodies are designed for that. What the problem is comfort. If we're too scared to get cold, okay, like our ancestors were, like our ancestors didn't have, hot water, and so on. They would get warm by the fire, sort of thing, but they would have a bath or a shower, in the cold. They'd go to a river or something and wash themselves and so on. So I think it's they didn't have obviously didn't have the inflammation problems. They didn't have the food problems as well, and of course a lot of other problems that we are dealing with today. But I think cold is more important than anything else, than heat anyway, I should say. And being comfortable. Yeah, time feels like it's not on your side when you first get diagnosed. Yeah, your head spins. Exactly, it does indeed. See, this is the one thing we have in common. Okay, when when you are diagnosed with cancer or any kind of chronic disease, okay, generally speaking, you know, people have, I mean, people are not going to generally get diagnosed in a different country than to what they're living in. So they usually have a home to go to and everything like that. So my story is a little bit different, but the one thing that we all have in common is time. We lose time because our lives are now dramatically shortened when we're being diagnosed, and we are losing that future time with our loved ones, with our even with ourselves, just with future goals, future plans. We all have these future plans, or these things that we were going to do, these things that we want to do and try and do all these other things. And that's all gone when you're diagnosed, when they tell you only have a few weeks to live, you know. And it's time that you lose with your family, or with your loved ones anyway, with your husband or wife or children, and that's the one thing we all have in common. It's time that we are losing, so I had immunotherapy, but eventually it caused a bad lung reaction. Yeah, that happens too, because I mean, like I said, like, immunotherapy is much easier than drugs that I had, but they all they all lower your immune system. They all inhibit your immune system. They because they don't just target the cancer stem cells. They target all of them. They target all of your cells, and that lets in infections. And that's what most cancer patients die from. They die from other infections, you know, due to the treatments. You know, it's a real shame. We sort of poison our bodies to try and it's crazy, really, some of it. So I haven't had any infusions for about a year now. PET scans are clear. Oh, that's good. Scar tissue is my plague. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, scar tissue takes a much, it's a pretty much a lifelong sort of thing, unfortunately. And I mean, like I said, there are processes in the body that help us repair scar tissue, but I can't say, and I certainly don't think that it would be 100% anyway, especially not in our environment these days anyway. So I find it interesting how I experience more gasiness digestively from eating nuts, while cheeses just get digested normally. Yeah, well, nuts are just for us, they're indigestible. You can't digest them. They rot in your colon. That's why they get gassy, because we can't break down fibrous things like nuts. They're much too hard. So when they reach the colon, they just sit there and rot, because they should be everything should be digested before it gets to the colon, right? So any animal-based products like meat, cheese, dairy, whatever, should be digested before it gets to the colon, and then from there it just gets absorbed into lymph fluid, into your lymphatic system, and that's where we absorb all those nutrients and so on. But if it's too hard to digest and it's still solid, which is what, if you knew Lee Copus, for example, he has a colostomy bag there now. Anything that was plant based would come out in the colostomy bag in complete whole pieces, right? Because it doesn't get digested at all. And that gas is being built up because it's rotting in your colon. If you have a look at even here in Australia on the Cancer Council website, they've got a list of top 10 sort of list of foods that rot in your colon, and they're all plants. So nuts, we do not get anything from nuts. We don't get good fatty acids or anything like that. None of that is digested at all or absorbed, and it's all in the wrong it's all in the wrong sort of molecule anyway. So even like I used to love walnuts and Brazil nuts and so on, but and they're touted as having like omega-3s and so on, but it's in the wrong molecule. We need DHA from like fish and lamb and so on. There's really zero reason to be eating nuts. Honestly, you get no benefit. Yeah, cold is so damn shocking. Well, yeah, it's meant to be. That's the point. Okay. But I do love a cold river water, water in the summer. Yeah, I mean, I love that too. I used to do that a lot in Japan. There was a beautiful river I used to go to, not far from where I used to live, and it sort of it was just all run down from the mountains, and the snow caps at the top, and the water was just beautiful and it's ice cold. Like one morning dip in there, and it sort of keeps you cool all day throughout summer. But I mean, the whole point is to get that shock to your system, get that cold water onto you, and that, I mean, there's so many benefits to that. It's really one of the biggest things we could be doing for our health. For inflammation for one, and like I was talking about the mitochondria process before, D3 is another one. And testosterone production, which is just as important for women as it is for men. Okay, it's not just a male sex hormone; it's a female sex hormone as well. Okay, nitric oxide production, okay, as well, and of course, it makes it easier if you are breathing properly. If you are doing slow breathing while you're in the cold, it makes it much easier to handle because again, you're in that ventral vagal state, and that controls the pain and stimulation and so on. Now, there's a number of great reasons also for this, like for our sexual hormone production as well. CO2 and nitric oxide are very important for that. It's not just about testosterone or estrogen. Without CO2 and nitric oxide, your libido is going to be very low. Okay. You could have high testosterone levels and still have a low libido if you're not getting enough CO2 and nitric oxide. Okay, and nitric oxide or low libido like that because of low nitric oxide is also one of the first telltale signs of heart disease. Okay, so these are very good reasons to be getting the cold. I actually did write an article on Substack for this about the sex hormones and so on. So if you go check that out, you can read all about it. By the way, what's your take on gynecomastia and the constant push solution wise towards that being surgery or essentially HRT, TRT, assuming it's a testosterone issue? Through it can convert more estrogen, I'm assuming. I did carnivore for a couple of months and it absolutely wrecked my gut. I don't think it'd be carnivore that wrecked your gut. First 1 to 2 months were great. 3 to 4 plus, I got horrible. It got horrible with me getting diarrhea and sickness. Okay, when you say you did carnivore, I mean, what were you eating? Like this, I mean, when you get diarrhea, for example, this can be largely due to either too much fat, for example. And it can also come down to drinking too much water around your meals, for example, as well. If you are any time that you get diarrhea, you're going to have gut problems because you're not digesting those foods, right? And there's a number of reasons why this will happen, right? For example, if you are in an elevated nervous state, so if you're in the sympathetic nervous state, your body is in that fight or flight state. and it's not ready to digest. It's not ready to process food, which means it's just going to go straight through you. Right? You actually lose at least half of your nutrients that way because you're not in the calm rest and digest state. So there's one reason. Now, if you are when you are eating fat, for example, if it's rendered fat, if it's already broken down because you've just finished cooking it, that can also be the problem. It'll just go straight through you. And I have that same problem. It'll still, even now, if I eat hot fat and it's, in that rendered sort of state or sort of jelly state, it'll just go straight through me. Okay. Again, because I do have some issues left over from chemotherapy and so on. So for me, I like to cook it several hours beforehand and chill it in the fridge so that it's in a solid state when I eat the fat. And I eat the meat cold. Another reason is drinking water around fat, because when you drink, if you put, say, just put some, like, mix water and fat, it just sort of goes straight through you. Okay. I don't think that it would be, and when it comes to transitioning any kind of diet, doesn't matter what diet you're doing, if you're transitioning diet wise, this should be done over a slow, long process. Okay. I don't think, and no one should be, if you have like a sudden change in your diet, you're going to have the same effect. It's going to wreck your gut, like you said, because that your body is not used to that that way of eating. You've been, so if you've been doing like many years of standard Western diet, or even if you've been on a limited carb diet for a while, and then suddenly change to zero carb or very limited in carbs, like carnivore diet, that can have a catastrophic effect on your gut health, like temporarily, not permanently. Like it'll just make you a bit of a mess for several months until your body does eventually adapt, because it will eventually adapt, but it just means that you're going to go through a lot of, a bit of torture and until it does. So I think that everyone, if they're going to adapt, some people adapt over a year span. Like if you're a vegan, for example, I would transition them over a 12-month period, at least, depending on how long they've been doing that for. So just do these things. I think you should do these things very gently. Give your body time to catch up to what you are doing, right? Because all the processes in our body all take adaptation. It's the same with even other lifestyle modalities like cold therapy, like I was talking about before, and breathwork. These are things that should be implemented slowly, so you don't just go, straight into a 0-degree ice bath sort of thing. You start with a cold shower and you sort of work your way down, bring the temperature down as you feel more comfortable with it. And it's the same with your diet. So, for example, you might want to start increasing your fat intake or increasing your meat intake just over the span of several months. And as you do that, your desire or even need to eat carbs will just naturally go down. So it's really about adaptation. I don't like, whenever I know there's a lot of stories out there, and I know there's a lot of people saying, like, this is the cure for everything. And I get, I had this and I had that, and carnivore cured this. And, I think a lot of people are just very excited about the fact that they do feel better. I've never said that this is a cure for anything. and it certainly does help you to manage things a lot better. And once you are adapted, you do feel a lot better. And for me, it's kept me in remission for a long time now. But it took a lot of adaptation, and it took me a long time for that adaptation. Okay. And there's other things that I do as well. This is not just about carnivore diet. All right. So I think try it again, but try to adapt slowly. Okay. You just have to give your body time to adapt. And anyone that tells you like just try it for 30 days is ridiculous. Right. I know there's a lot of influencers out there say I did carnivore diet for 2 weeks and I felt great, and I did carnivore diet for 30 days, and just try it for 30 days, and that's horseshit. Right? Because everyone has a different starting point, and everyone's going to have a different time or a different timing of adaptation. Okay, so that's what it's really all about. It's about adaptation. I did carnivore for a couple of months and it absolutely wrecked my gut. Okay, yeah. If we all got to see the results of colostomy bag, it would change minds a bit. Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely would. Yeah. It definitely needs to be more nuance in general. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like I said, like everyone, we're all starting from a different point, and that the adaptation is all going to take a different time for everyone. So, yeah. For example, tried several different diets as if it's one size fits all solution, and none of them went well. Yeah. Again, it's doesn't matter what diet it is, whether you're going vegetarian, vegan, carnivore, or a mixed match, or whatever you want to do. I mean, there are metabolic processes that prove that, and like there are isotope studies that prove that we are hypercarnivore. But anything more than 70% of your nutrients coming from animals is going to put you in the carnivore range. Okay. But again, apart from all that, doesn't matter what diet you are changing to or changing your lifestyle to, it takes adaptation. And you can't just flip flop, so like I said before, like I did this for 30 days and this is what happened bullshit. It's nonsense. All right. It's absolute nonsense. It's clickbait bullshit to try and get people to, watch their videos and so on. Like I said, we've all grown up from, this standard Western diet, for example. We've all had different influences over the years. And depending on how long you've been on these things, it's going to take a lot longer for your body to adapt. Okay. And that's not including any kind of health issues. All right. Like for me, it was cancer. Well, it still is. I have follicular lymphoma. So it's a recurring type of cancer that apparently there's no cure for. All right. It just keeps coming back no matter how much they treat it or whatever. But I've kept it in remission for the last 11.5 years. So we all have a different starting point, and it's going to take a different amount of time for adaptation, depending on where we are starting from. Okay. So it doesn't really matter what diet we are adapting to. It's always going to have that. You're always going to have that problem. Now, there are a number of reasons, like a number of things that you need to take into account, though, when you're talking about diet. There's the Randall cycle, which is basically a revolving door of, or kind of like a switch, really, in our metabolic process, in our metabolic sort of the way we're doing things. So if you eat carbs, for example, then it's going to flip a switch and it's going to process those carbs as fast as possible, because there's a number of reasons why our body is not designed to run on carbs, and it will try to get rid of those things, those carbs, as quickly as possible. So, for example, even if you're not talking about so-called healthy carbs like rice and vegetables and so on, alcohol, if you drink alcohol, it'll process that much faster. It'll take that up much faster than it will like rice, for example. That doesn't mean that that's the body's preferred fuel. That just means that the body wants to get rid of it as fast as possible. Okay. And then if you adapt to that switch is going to sort of pretty much stay hard onto that. But if you eat both at the same time, you're trying to squeeze two fat people through one revolving door, and it's just going to get jammed, and that's where inflammation starts. Okay. So then if you flip over to fats, this is why if you eat say a certain amount of fat and protein, then that meal lasts longer, because your body is actually absorbing those nutrients and the fatty acids and everything else that we use in our metabolic processes. Okay, so there's really nothing else that we get from carbs. So, but apart from all the science part of it, whenever, it doesn't matter what diet you are on, and yes, there is some nuance to it, because some people cannot handle. Some people can just go overnight, and I've seen some people do that and be just fine. But generally speaking, most people cannot. Right? It takes a level of adaptation, and like I said, it can take up to a year. It could, depending on how long you've been on a certain diet, it could be even 2 years. I know some people that transitioned over 2 years, actually some longer. So it really does take nuance in that adaptation as well. Yeah, keto, carnivore, whatever. Yeah, new thing, experts. Yeah, now recommend. Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, bloody, yeah, experts really piss me off, honestly. They think they're experts on bloody everything. Yeah, fasting, for example, can be great, and many recommend more of the longer forms of fasting for its benefits. But if your body already is stressed beforehand, yeah, for years, it could do more than harm. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't believe anyone should be fasting until their body has actually healed properly, or to a point where they can do it comfortably. I don't think you should be able to. I don't think anyone should be forcing themselves to fast. Okay, if it's difficult, you shouldn't be doing it. It should be an easy thing. Now, if you're already adapted to the carnivore diet, for example, carnivore diet is already a fasting mimicking diet. So I don't really fast much, very rarely. If I just don't feel like eating, then I won't. That's basically it. The same benefits you get from fasting, for example, you also get from other processes as well, which can also help speed up those processes, or in combination with fasting, or you just don't need to do it, right? Like cold therapy, for example. So carnivore diet, cold therapy, breathwork also helps up the same metabolic processes as fasting does. So again, there are things that you can do that will either mimic fasting or the benefits of fasting, or in conjunction with, can speed up those processes. But again, if you are not comfortable fasting, then you shouldn't be doing it. Yeah. Stress state. Yeah, that's right. The fat and water mixture is a good tip to ponder. Yeah, it is. When you eat any amount of fat and you're drinking water with it, it's just going to go straight through. So it's best to maybe leave it at least an hour before, or a couple of hours after. Yeah. So yeah, great points there. Slowing down the transition, and glad you are mentioning that it could take months rather than just a few weeks, and it's happily ever after, what I've heard from many folks. Yeah, I mean, you got to give your body time to adapt. That has been one of my sort of pet hates, really, because you get a lot of these influencers and these so-called experts, especially young trainers and so on, say, just do this for 30 days, and it's just absolute horse shit. It really is. Do you think it's essential for the body to have a lot of diversity in nutrition rather than eat the same things every day, or is it, or is the latter fine as well, long term speaking? Um, I think, okay, if we're talking carnivore diet, for example, I think you need a variety of fats. Okay, like I was talking about DHA before. Um, I like lamb fat because it's got 10 times the omega threes, especially DHA, than beef does. Okay, so I've never been one to say stick to the, no, excuse me. There's always, doesn't matter what diet you're on, right? Like with vegetarians, it was then became the vegans, right? Because there's always this more extreme version. And when people started talking about the carnivore diet recently, then oh, but I'm really extreme. I'm lion diet because I only eat beef and water. That is absolute nonsense to me. You need a good mixture of fats, okay, for many different reasons. It's not just about other medical, DHA. Well, DHA is one of the most important ones because that is your brain, okay. Now, coming off years and years of chemotherapy, I have a lot of scar tissue on like all of my organs, including my brain. This is one of the things that is very important to me is getting nutrients that like that are so vital for your brain. DHA is one of those fats. So I think seafood is fantastic. Like really fatty fish is really good. I love tuna and salmon and I forget what I think it's called yellowtail. But the Japanese name for it is katsuo, but I forget the English name for it. I don't know why. But these are things that are really vital for our health, not just for the brain, but obviously for the rest of the process in our body. You feel much better if you have a good variety of fats, and proteins as well. I mean, like, you get different amino acids from seafood as well. Um, so I think have a good mix, like beef, lamb. Um, it's better to have ruminant animals rather than monogastric like pork or chicken, but that depends on your source as well. Like wild chicken, for example, is more reddish sort of meat, whereas supermarket it's very white because they're fed on soy pellets and so on. So whatever comes out in whatever a monogastric animal eats is what comes out in their products, like meat or eggs and so on. So source will help with that sort of thing. But when it comes to seafood, wild caught, I believe wild caught is the best. And eggs are also very good, but some people have a lot of trouble with eggs as well. Usually they'll have more trouble with the egg whites, so you might want to just eat the egg yolks. Okay, that's where most of the nutrients are anyway. And again, the source of those eggs plays a big role as well. So, yeah, I believe in a good variety anyway. I mean, don't get me wrong, like you can survive. I mean, you will survive just fine on, even if you have just one source, you will survive, and it will certainly keep you alive. But long term, I think it's good to have that variety as well, especially health wise and cognitive function and other reasons as well. I bought 20 pounds of prime beef tri-tip. Ooh, nice. That sounds good, D. Yeah, good to see you, D. Yeah, I pretty much eat the same stuff. Alternating steak, ground beef, yeah, with eggs. Well, that's a good mix. Um, yeah, for the evening meal, so I can monitor my fat intake and not get loose stools. Yeah, that's a good idea too. I mean, like I said, you can survive on doing that, but I think it's healthier to have a good mix of fats and stuff like that. But yeah, yeah, that's what I've done for a while as well. Kind of experiment with it, and that's all you can do: experiment with it, you know. But I know, I do know your body will adapt to whatever amounts and kinds of foods you eat over time. Yeah, exactly. But diversity keeps it guessing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, depends on what the diversity is, obviously. Like I said, you do need some adaptation. Um, and of course, you know, some species or some people don't have access to, and they've done just fine. You know, like if you have a look at in history, even the like some of the tribes in Africa, the I forget what they called, um, a big meat eater. Sorry, I can't think of their name, but um, you know, big meat eating tribe in Africa. All they eat is ruminant animals, right? Like things like buffalo and so on. And that's all they have access to. They don't really have. There's nowhere for them to get a lot of fish and so on. And they've done just fine. And there's part of the like they're still on average the tallest people in the world. About I think the average is like 6'3" or 6'4" in their tribe. Um, let me see, the Plains Indians in America before um, before civilization or before integration and so on. That all they ate was buffalo, basically. I mean, they did have seafood, they did have rivers and so on. They did have um, um, access to seafood or to fish, any river fish anyway. But all they pretty much ate was buffalo. So I'm pretty sure they can do just fine. Um, but like I said, for me, I like to have a good variety of fats anyway. Like I said, omega threes are very important for the brain. Um, you do get omega threes from beef, obviously, just not as much as lamb and seafood and so on. Yeah, so you know, if you're doing well on it, like if that's what you're doing well on, then just keep doing it. You know, simple. Um, I wonder if someone did 1 month carnivore, then next month keto, then next vegan, then after more Mediterranean. That's constant adaptation, and I'd wonder if it would serve or harm you more. I believe that would harm you more, especially yeah. I think that's too much to try and adapt to in a very short period, and I think that could do a lot of damage to your gut for a start. But just all of the metabolic processes in your body, there are that's that constant flip flopping is going to really upset. It's going to really upset things anyway. So they would have a very hard time, I'd imagine. So, I mean, if someone was young and they didn't have any sort of health issues or they didn't have any sort of problem to start with, they might get away with it, but it's not something that you should be doing. Yeah. And I like things like, I guess it's like the Mediterranean style diet. This is another like blue zone garbage too. You know, like when there's a made up story, the Mediterranean diet, they eat a lot more meat and get a lot of sunshine and so on than they they said they do anyway. Or you could just have a combination of them all instead of excluding anything and do that long term. Yeah, I mean, um, people have had a combination for a little, you know, a fair while, like the last maybe 200 years or so. And ever since the agricultural revolution as well, I mean, the reason we went from hunter gatherer to um, to crops and so on was because we basically hunted a lot of species to extinction. Like in Europe, the buffalo, we sort of pretty much ran out of buffalo, you know. So there was pretty much an energy crisis, like a food crisis, right? And that's when we started growing crops. But in that period, though, a lot of civilizations died out completely because of that. Um, since then, yeah, people have survived, but we're a lot smaller as well. Like it only took like 2 generations to go from an average of 6'3", 6'4". Our skeletal structure is like about a foot shorter on average now, and that includes our skull structure as well. Where our brains are much smaller because our skull cavity is much smaller as well. Plus, we haven't had the fats that were used to or we used to develop on as well to grow the brain. So there's a number of side effects of going to a mixed diet as well. Um, and like really 10 to 15,000 years is kind of like the blink of an eye. It's like it's too short for a species to adapt over time, you know. But that, having said that, like that doesn't mean that people can't have a healthy life with a combination diet as well. Like keto, as long as you're not eating, like the problem with keto these days as well is that you get all these keto snacks and these highly processed sort of, oh, but it's low carb, you know, sort of snacks, you know, which are highly processed garbage. Um, but you know, like in general, like I know, like my old man, like my father is. I mean, their diet is terrible. Like but he's alive at 83, and I mean, they have a shocking diet. Really, honestly, a shockingly bad diet. They're on a lot of medications, and they're not very healthy, obviously, but they can still live a fairly long life in comparison to some other people. Um, but I think that comes down to their developing years as well. They had a lot of meat in their developing years, and that makes a very big difference. They ate when he was a child. They didn't have seed oils. They didn't well, not they weren't so prevalent anyway. But they cooked everything in tallow and lard and so on. You know, they ate meat and all that sort of stuff as well. So the developing years, I think, are very important for our species. Um, and it's very different to the kids of today, you know. So like there's the children of today, there's a much higher rate of cancer, much higher rate of every other kind of disease as well. um, so I think that's one of the key factors that we sort of need to look at there too. I don't want hemorrhoids ever again. Yeah, no plants for me. Yeah, exactly. I agree. I had very bad hemorrhoids, especially during chemotherapy and so on. But yeah, no, I'll never take that on again. And it's one of the the biggest things they keep telling you in the hospital is, oh, just eat more fiber. Yeah, you just rip your ass out. It's ridiculous. It really is. Have you ever experimented with some herbs and supplements, for example, like with shilajit and ashwagandha and tonga ali? Um, yeah, I have. I mean, throughout the years, throughout the last 11 and a half years, well, actually, even before, like, I was always into supplements and so on before I was diagnosed. So I used to try everything. I think that's one of the reasons why I ended up being diagnosed. Um, oh, there we go. Hang on a second, guys. We've got someone joining us. George, how you doing, mate?
G'day, very well. How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Good.
Excellent. Good. Did you go early tonight, or am I
Yeah.
late?
No, I went early. Yeah, I started
Okay.
at 8 o'clock. Mm.
Oh, right. Okay. So yeah, so it's on half an hour early from as far as I thought.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, about an hour and a half actually. Yeah. So,
Okay.
let me just get to this question. Have you experienced like supplements? Yeah, supplements, herbs, spices, everything. Like I've tried it all. Um, and there's always, and don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong with this, because I think that plants can be a useful medicine. Okay, but that's all they should be. That's that's it. When it comes to supplements, highly processed supplements that you buy, like especially store bought stuff, these things are high in xenoestrogens and petroleum chemicals. Okay, that because I mean, a lot of them are petroleum based. Um, Plus, they are processed. They are, it's the same with when you get these cereals and so on. They said that they're fortified with these vitamins and minerals and so on. These are man-made versions of these vitamins and minerals and so on. So really, you're getting zero benefit, and you can actually do a lot of damage to your body. It can throw off your circadian biology for a start, like your hormone production and timing and everything as well. It lowers your testosterone, which is going to lower your blood cell production, which is one of the most important things for me, because after chemotherapy, it inhibits your body's production of bone marrow like produced stem cells, blood cells, white cells, and everything else. So these are one of the reasons why I avoid that stuff now. But when it comes to even herbs and spices and things like that, like I said, some of these things can be very useful medicine wise if you have some sort of condition. Um, but generally speaking, like I've tried them all, and a lot of them can actually cause you more harm than good, especially if you are taking them on a regular basis over a long period of time. Okay. For example, one of the biggest ones that like these days, turmeric is, yeah, turmeric extracts can have like parts of it that are very good for the body. Okay. But like if you take turmeric on a whole, okay, for example, it's extremely bad for your liver. It actually, any kind of powder compounds are actually very bad for your liver. Actually, just it sort of clogs your liver up, and you sort of start producing these fatty, like triglycerides and so on and so on. But having said that, there are, like when you take, like for example, echinacea, for example, this was quite popular back in the 90s. Echinacea, it's actually a toxin. This is actually a poison. And if you take this, it's pretty much like taking small doses of cyanide, and over a long period of time is going to kill you. But there are extracts, and there are things that you can extract from that will actually be of benefit. So these are things you need to be careful about. So I don't do any of that sort of stuff anymore. Um, if I do have any kind of issue like sniffles or start to get a cold or anything like that, I just go straight into like I increase my fat intake, especially if I have a cold or flu something sort of coming on. I increase my fat intake. I make sure I get into the ice bath, and I also do a lot of breath work. And the breath work is probably one of the best things, I think, to fight that sort of like any kind of nasal infection or anything like that as well. So that's just me. Okay. So what have you been up to, George?
Oh, quite just another week at work, but I've had a day's training today, which was a bit different, which was quite nice.
Yep.
It gets me out of the main day job, and yeah, it was quite interesting because I had a training instructor, and I had there were two trainees, me and one other, and the instructor, and
Yeah.
as usual, I managed to turn the conversation around to what I've been doing for the last 4 years. And I spent the first 2 hours of the training course teaching ketogenic carnivore diet, which is quite amusing because I use my usual lethal weapon of the before and after photographs and my business card. And the instructor is a 55-year-old. He's piling on the pounds, and he's trying to out-train his problems.
Yeah.
And he's carb loading to give himself energy for the gym. So yeah, he was very, very interested. So for the first 2 hours when he was supposed to be teaching, I was, and then we rushed through the rest of the day, and it was just it's good. He's very, very interested.
Oh, that's good.
You know, I'm the living proof, and obviously he can't argue with my before and after photographs. And yeah, so it's very, very interesting. And the younger guy, he's only 26, and still clearly, you know, he has a decent insulin response. He actually got a friend who is on the carnivore diet and who's just started and is losing 6 pounds a week because he's obviously a big lad. Yeah. And so he's actually not, you know, he's not only heard of carnivore, but he actually knows somebody who is doing the carnivore diet. So basically, you know, it's getting more and more common, Dave. It really is. You mentioned, so have you ever heard of carnivore? And there are people out there now not only have heard of it, but they know people who are doing it. So it's we're no longer the sort of the weirdos anymore. We are, you know, it's getting more and more common. You know, 4 years ago, if you'd asked somebody, including me, have you ever heard of the carnivore diet? No, never really heard of it at all. Nowadays, if you heard of the carnivore diet, the people say, "Oh yeah, you only eat meat," and you know, so at least we're getting out there into the mainstream consciousness. Not everybody's doing it, obviously, but everybody's interested in it. Really, I get very little pushback from people. They're more interested than.
Yeah, I think most people are just curious, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Which is very good. So you know, you can't complain about that really. And it's not like, oh, you're crazy or anything. It's how do you get on with it? You know, it's really isn't it. One of the big ones isn't it expensive. So you know, I've learned to you don't go, oh no, meat's not too expensive. You say, yeah, well, meat's fairly expensive, but it's what you eliminate is what you don't spend your cash on.
Yeah, that's right.
That allows you the flexibility. So
I mean, that is one thing. Like, yeah, you could get a trolley like overloaded with packets of chips and all these boxes of food and all these all these chemicals, and have a trolley that's like barely even a quarter full of meat. But that quarter full of meat doesn't look like as much. But one, I mean, it's got a lot less packaging for a start, but you get a lot more energy or a lot more food or a lot more lifestyle out of that smaller amount of meat than you will that huge trolley of chemicals. You know, so I mean that's the difference. We think we see this big trolley full of all this other. There's so much food. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I mean the poor guy that the training instructor today, he was asking. I was saying about how all carbohydrates became sugar. And he was talking about fruit, and he had a banana with him, quite a large banana. So I called up Dr. David Unwin's Sugar Infographics, and he was horrified to discover that in his hand he was holding 6 teaspoonfuls of sugar. Yeah. And he put his banana back in his lunchbox. I'm not eating that. So that was actually quite, that was another small victory in the game of life. He was horrified to learn as well that 150 grams of white rice is the equivalent of 10 teaspoonfuls of sugar. So,
well, I mean, that's one way to look at it too. But bananas, I mean, it's fructose as well, which is even more. It's much worse than just sugar too. So.
Yeah, I explained about fruit size.
I remember the years of carbo loading when I was a kid, like when I was in my 20s, or I was racing triathlon. My coach was like, "Oh, remember the carbo load this week? You have to eat as much pasta as you can, and so on." And like by the time the race day comes up, you're 5 kilos heavier.
Yeah, exactly.
It's bloody crazy.
I was able to give him 2 examples of the athletes in our world. The first one being Professor Tim Noakes, who was a carb loader and a marathon runner, and he ended up with type 2 diabetes as a marathon runner, and he had to go back and change his book, write an apology, and change the chapter on carb loading and become a carnivore. And then, of course, we have my great friend Duncan Smart over here, who has recently, he's been a carnivore for quite some time, but has only recently discovered the carnivore community. He wrote the Carnivore Manual, I believe. Where is it? It's here somewhere. Bear with me a second, can't find it immediately. But he wrote the Carnivore Manual, and he is an international British triathlete. And he was a carb loader until such time as he discovered it, and now he's outperforming his international triathlete mates. But he's still not being accepted by the coaches. He's still having to lie to his coaches about his nutrition.
Yeah, because coaches know best, right? It's ridiculous. Yeah.
It really is. There's no question about that.
Yeah, Georgia was the Messiah. Yeah, good man.
Yeah, the Masai. Sorry, I put that on the Masai Warriors. Yeah.
I just got down to there.
Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. Eggs could be another problem too, Adam. If you're having gut problems, like if, for example, if I eat too many eggs, especially in any one setting, it'll just go straight through me. So. And it depends on the type of eggs and, of course, the source of them as well. Like duck eggs are very fatty, for example. So the higher in fat the eggs, the more likely, especially because it just cooked them. So a lot of the fat is already rendered. So that's also going to have an effect on digestion and so on as well. So if you do have a problem with digestion, maybe cut the eggs out for a little while and just try it without it. My auto mechanic has been on Ozempic for the past 6 months and throws himself on the altar of his doctor. But today took himself to the ER for discomfort in his left side abdomen. Yeah, well, I hope it's nothing too serious, but yeah, Ozempic is facing a lot of lawsuits. So. But it's just the way people are these days. We've sort of grown up to trust the doctors, trust the white coats. It's crazy, but that's the way it is. I had my times where I was fasting and thought multivitamins would have my back when I might have been not eating well enough to begin with through food due to severe fast. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard horror stories about Ozempic. Yeah. Hey, Bacon Runner. Good to see you. How you doing?
Donna Ray's here. Absolutely. Donna Ray from Maine, the lovely lady. Donna's got a great backstory because she came to us through inspiration, not through desperation. She says, I haven't really got much of a story to tell, but in my opinion, it's those who are brave enough to come without any metabolic health problems who actually probably even have greater stories than those of us who did, because you either come through inspiration or desperation like I did because I had type 2 diabetes. But Donna Ray is one of the ones who was brave enough to come without any problems. And she's a bacon runner because she actually, I hope she doesn't mind me saying, she's the wrong side of 60 and not the wrong side of 60, but she's north of 60 and is still running, doing long distance running. So
that's awesome.
She got a great story. She really has. Yeah.
Yeah. You usually find, like as a coach, that women actually do run better in their later years, especially after childbirth, because their hip displacement is different. So they actually become better runners after childbirth.
Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah, I
do
understand about hip displacement because our daughter Chloe is pregnant again after the third time, and she's always has trouble with her hips when during pregnancy.
yeah.
Lainey's in the kitchen listening to this. You might want to come on and explain in a minute, possibly when she hears this. I don't know. Yeah, so there we go. We've got some more people coming in with us, Dave. If you catch up on chat, we got Aaron and Christy and various other people. Let's see if we can.
Do you have any tips or advice or recommendations for diet and health for raising a baby? Wife's going to give birth soon. Yeah, I think to breastfeed for as long as you can, if you can breastfeed anyway, because babies are carnivores, all right, and they get everything they need from mother's milk. So try to breastfeed as much as you can. Stay away from these processed tins of baby food, for example, and baby formula, because every one of these baby formulas are full of seed oils and all kinds of other toxins as well. So avoid that sort of crap. I actually did a good talk about this with Amber O'Hearn. So if you have a look back on my channel, have a look at Amber O'Hearn's interview. She's brilliant. She's really good. She's one of the best, the top minds on this sort of stuff. But yeah, breastfeed for as long as you can, and then when you start doing solid foods, like I know, like some parents will actually pre-chew meat, for example, and then feed to the child. But as long as you can, I think just process the meat yourself. Like you can blend it or mince, for example, like ground beef, for example. Yeah, that's what I would be doing anyway. But breastfeed, but for the first few years at least, like breastfeed for as long as you can, if that's possible. Okay. What's your take on a lot of the recommendations behind modern biohacking advice? If you have any, if you have been looking into it, it's been pretty trendy with lots of things to do, lots of things to sell to people, and be it gimmicks or not. Yeah, I think this again, it's the same. It's the same as anything else, isn't it? Like everyone's always got these things to sell you, right? There are. I mean, I have a number of things that I do like. For example, I like grounding sheets. I've got a grounding sheet on my bed so that when I'm sleeping, I'm grounded all night.
Yeah, if I can just stand in for the great Barkay here to DC. Yep, tick. That's one of my 5 biohacks there, mate.
Yeah, yeah. Because grounding is very important. I have a grounding mat underneath my desk right now. My feet are on. Okay. And being outside, most of the things that we need are all free. Okay. These are just extra things that I have tried that I do like. Like I said before as well, I do have this red light therapy band thing here that helps with injury and recovery. But apart from that, most of the things that we really need for health are all free. Like cold therapy, you can have a cold shower for free, right? It's not going to cost you any electricity to use cold water. Breathwork, you don't need any machines or anything like. You don't need to buy anything for that. That's free. Obviously, your diet is the next big thing. Grounding, sunlight. These are the most important things, really. All these other biohacks of, like buy yourself these big machinery and all these other things. Exercise, of course, is, you can exercise without going to the gym. You can do that at home. Like calisthenics is one of my favorite sort of ways to exercise as well. Yeah.
Blue light blockers, Dave.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah,
that's one of Bart's. I haven't got any myself. I'm just listing Bart's here. Really, I'm helping him out.
Well, that comes down to light, right? I do have blue light blockers myself, and that now these have helped me to sleep. These are things that I've always had trouble sleeping when I was younger. So there are things that I do use. I also recently, this is a Manta sleep mask. Okay, it's very, very good. It blocks out all kinds of light while I'm sleeping, and I found that also helps. All right. Because if you have any kind of source of light around you, these light blockers are quite good. Blue light, like on your screens or unnatural light in your house or wherever, they literally drain your mitochondria of energy. Okay, and so in that respect, yes, I think blue light blockers are good, especially if for at night. But during the day, I don't use them. You don't need to. I do have ones I use for computer screen as well. But again, there's always people coming out with these new hacks that are going to revolutionize your health and all these other things. But if you stick to, the things that have kept me in remission, like my diet, cold therapy, grounding, breath work, of course, sunlight, and all these other things, like they cost you nothing, right? So if there are things that you might want to try it, but otherwise don't go wasting money on all the other crap that everyone keeps trying to sell you.
Yeah, Dave, just confirm. I think here she is. I think the Bart's 5 are number 1, the carnivore diet. Number 2 we'll come back to. Number 3 is blue light blocking. Number 4 is grounding. Number 5 is, I think, high intensity interval training is what he recommends. Number 2 is
resistance.
Number 2 is yeah, exactly. Number 2 is a product. It's called Cerule. Is that something that you are still involved with, or have you? Yeah, you are. Okay, so I think we should, if it's a biohack, I really think we should mention Cerule, because Bart swears by it. It's a stem cell, I believe.
It's a good product. It's a good product. There are 3 products that I use now. Cerule Stem Enhance Ultra. This is going to help people to release more healthy adult stem cells. Okay. Now there are other ways you can do this as well, naturally as well. But as we age, and this is another thing people need to sort of think about as well. As we age, it gets more difficult for our body to actually release these healthy adult stem cells. Okay, so we tend to hold on to them for some reason. But that's just, and the telomeres on our will actually shorten. That's pretty much our aging process. That's our aging. The telomeres will shorten, which means that the stem cells will not last as long, and we produce. It's not that we still produce the stem cells, we just don't release them as quickly as we should as we get older. But this is a product that will help with that. Now, there are other ways that we can do this as well. Okay, like resistance training will help us to release healthy adult stem cells. Cold therapy, again, like we're stimulating testosterone and so on. Okay, because that's what stimulates the EPO and the bone marrow to produce the stem cells. Okay, and let me see. Carnivore diet as well. Meat also stimulates that as well. All right, so there are other ways that we can do this, but this is just like an added sort of bonus. The other products that I use are Cyactive, which also helps to reduce inflammation, and Plasma Flow. Plasma Flow basically helps the blood clear out zombie cells that are floating around throughout your blood system and your lymphatics and so on. It helps to sort of flush all that out. Now, for me, these are products I've started using just for the last few years. So it's not actually something that I use to get into remission or to help stay into remission, but it has helped speed things up for me over the last few years. My bloods are much healthier now, and I think a lot of that just comes down to it enhances everything else that I've already been doing, and just sort of speeds that process up a little bit. All right. So that's about it, really.
Yeah, next time we see Bart, if you could tell him, I'll settle for 5% commission on that one, Dave. So there we go.
Yeah, no worries, man. Yeah. Congrats on the baby.
Seriously, if anybody hasn't heard of Cyril or even Professor Bart K, go to his channel. He will tell you how to purchase Cyril. I believe that.
That's where that link is there. I mean, you can.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Can
I think if you're in Australia, you can get them through Dave. I think Bart's got a couple of outlets of people over here in the UK. I believe that Lee, the Kent Carnival, might be able to supply you with Cyril, as can Coach Stephen Thomas, who's quite famous over here. Not sure about the US of A, who his IBOs are over there, independent business operators. So basically, go and have a look at Bart's channel.
You can buy it from my link there. That's in the QR code there, or dcfit.cyril.com. Okay. Let me see. There's that there. dcfit.cyril.com. So yeah, you can buy it from my link there. And that, I mean, they are very good products, but they are quite expensive. So you can also become an IBO, and in which case, then if you sell them to 3 other people per each month, then you get them for free. Okay, so that has some good benefits if you're looking to, want to get them for yourself. So yeah, just the link is actually in the description of my video, so you can have a look at it there too. dcfit.cyril.com. Okay. And I think actually what I'll do, I'll just post that. But like I said, there are other ways that you can do these same processes without spending the money. And I mean, they are a good product, don't get me wrong, and they do help speed things up. They've certainly sped things up for me. So yeah, go check it out. Let's see. Just try and catch up with these chats now. Go. Oh, I'm a fair bit behind by it looks.
Yeah, well, that's it was me getting you off track with Cyril.
That's right. I found Carnivore when my youngest was 3 months. The baby never had any rashes after I started Carnivore, and she thrived, and she still thrives. Good. Yeah, her favorite thing is lamb, I'm assuming, or beef. Yeah. Howdy, George.
Yeah.
Hello, Lainey. Meeting wellness. Hello, Christy. How you doing?
Yeah, Chrissy from California, the other teacher, alongside John Laspina, her friend from Florida.
Yeah. Aaron, I swear baby heartbeat sounds like a horse trotting. Fair enough.
Just point that one out, DC. Lainey might want to tell you what she's been up to today.
Oh, okay. What you been up to, Lainey?
I went with Chloe, our daughter, and listened to our new grandson's heartbeat.
Oh, cool.
She went for a Trinity check, but I heard that you were talking about hips earlier. Chloe had hip displacement with her first child, Levi, and it was quite bad. By the second one, she ended up on crutches at 3 months pregnant and in a wheelchair by the time she was about 7 months. It was that bad. And we thought she was getting away with it on this one. But but she hasn't. She's 5 months, so she's gone a little bit longer, but her hips have started going again. So she's going to end up. They chucked her to the top of the list for what did I say?
For crutches or no? What
The exercises to
calisthenics? No, I can't remember.
Oh, whatever. They chucked her to the top of the list for whatever and got her crutches ready already. But on when she had Indy, which was the last one, it was so bad. It was just unbelievable. She was in a wheelchair and she had to wear like a great big elastic band basically to give birth, because they actually thought her hips were just going to literally pop straight out.
Yeah.
And they had surgeons waiting for her, and she walked out the hospital. She was absolutely fine. She gave birth, and she was fine. So they're just really watching her really closely now that they've started going again. But she used to do kickboxing, judo, spinning, as they call it on the exercise, spinning. She can't do any of that anymore. Her hips are that weak.
Oh, okay.
She's never been able to go back to it. But yeah, so we're just waiting now, because she literally because she's a manager on a nuclear site. So she had to give up work. Well, stop work. She had to go on maternity really early. But like I said, this time at least she's got to 5 months. So hopefully they'll stay in.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But I mean, like I said, she's been all right afterwards. It's just the pregnancy awful on her hips. It really takes its toll on her hips.
Does she eat much meat?
Yeah, she's not a carnivore in any way, shape, or form. They eat everything, the whole family. But she really suffers with her hips. She used to be really slim because she was always exercising. She was always kickboxing and all the rest of it. So she's put on the weight by not being able to do any of that. But it's what it is. But she'll be good. But yeah, it was lovely this morning hearing his little heartbeat chuffing along like a train. So,
that's really cool.
It was lovely. Yeah, brought a tear to my eye.
That's good. Okay, interesting with mainly meat-based nutrition and lifestyle historically, as it was must with colder climates and seasons, while with warmer regions and climates you had more fruits and plants. So like more fruits and plants did grow, but not the fruits and plants that we eat today. Like for bananas, for example, they used to be this very small, tart sort of fruit with large seeds and so on. It's not the fruit that we have today, and it's certainly not the fructose levels that we have today. But having said that, like south of the equator in hotter regions, people could get away with eating more plants, or like basically it was more tubers and stuff like that as well, because they sweat a lot and when it's in hotter climates, so they could actually eat more deuterium. This is where deuterium sort of comes in. If you live in a hotter climate, yes, you can get away with eating more carbohydrates, okay, because you don't have that deuterium buildup so much, because they are always sweating this stuff out, But fat, a higher fat, the more fat you eat, the more animal fat you eat, the more tolerable heat or hot climates are for you. Okay, so you can actually tolerate more hotter climates on a high fat diet. If you have a look at desert people, for example, they didn't have a lot of water and they didn't have any plants, okay, in the desert and so on. They ate a high fat, like they used cured meats to cross the deserts and so on, and they ate a lot of fat, because fat, you produce a lot more internal water, what they call it, like EZ water, okay. With fat cells, eating fat, you produce more ATP, more CO2, and more EZ water. So you can hydrate a lot easier on a high fat diet. So it depends. Yes, you can get away with more carbs. You can sweat them out, but like I said, like in desert people, they didn't have those plants available to them. A high fat diet actually gives them a higher tolerance for heat, and also for hydration and so on as well.
Yeah, I'm finding myself standing in for Bart tonight's DC. So I think at this point we have to mention Paul Salad. I don't know who is advocating adding fruits back in, but of course, as we know, he has chosen to go and live somewhere in sunnier climes within the tropics, I believe, and is surfing. So he's taking a lot of exercise surfing every day.
He lives in Puerto Rico, I think it is. Puerto Rico.
Okay, so yeah.
Costa Rica, I think it is. But
yeah.
Yeah, Costa Rica. So I mean, it's a very hot climate, and he's spends pretty much all day surfing. So it's a very different thing for him, and you can see the carbohydrates have definitely aged him, from like a few years ago. So, but that's his problem. Yeah, and coconuts and stuff like beachy sort of areas and stuff like that. They had plants and stuff like that, and like I said, they can get away with that sort of stuff because they do sweat out the deuterium, because we do need deuterium at a certain level. The carbohydrates have a lot of deuterium in them. Okay, and one of the quickest ways for the body to get rid of it is to sweat it out. So if you're in a hotter climate, you can get away with it. That doesn't mean it's optimal. You can see the difference, for example, between ancient Egyptians' diets and traditional European regions' diets. They're also tropical, which you'll get access more regularly to exotic things. Yeah, again, Egypt used to be especially around the pyramids and all that sort of stuff. It used to be all forest as well. But when they cleared all that to grow grains, they basically destroyed the environment. And the sands came in, and they did the same thing in America. When the first farmers settled in America, they created the big dust bowl in the center of America, because farming just destroys the soil, right? And again, most people did eat. I mean, the slaves ate all the crops, and of course, all the higher ups, the people in charge, they all ate high fat, high meat diets. The same as in Europe, like the farmers, like the kings and queens and lords and so on, they all had ruminant meat sort of on a regular basis, whereas the peasants didn't. So there's a lot of stuff involved in that. Does the guest have a YouTube channel or some other social media link?
Okay, so my now latent YouTube channel is good enough for you, with the figure 4 in the middle of it. However, I have discovered recently that A, I'm not very good at technology, and B, I am so busy on other people's channels that I haven't really got time to do my own. So it is there. I might, if I were to win the lottery and have lots of time and were able to get some serious help from some technically minded people, I do have some friends out there who are, then I might bring it back one day. However, you can find me on YouTube under my full name, which is George Goodenough there. There are very few George Goodenough. There is one other, I believe, who is a Hollywood scriptwriter, but I'm fairly obvious because I've got a microphone in my hand with a cap on my head, so you'll find my profile picture and find me easy to track. But really, most of the time, you'll find me on DC's channel. You'll find me on Grammar's Crochet Corner in chat. And I do go on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night if you happen to be, or a Saturday and a Sunday night if you happen to be in America. You will find me regularly on a Sunday afternoon sitting in with Dr. Kilt when he calls people onto the screen, and I do various other interviews, which reminds me I owe Dave a Calendly date because we are going to be doing a history subject fairly shortly. I haven't forgotten about it, Dave. It's just I've been so busy recently. I haven't got around to it, but he's just reminded me, actually. That's one of 3 emails that I owe, which is still waiting. So yeah, that's me really. I am very active in the carnivore community, and yeah, I'm everywhere basically. Everywhere you look, people complain. Everywhere you look, there's George. So yeah,
but he won't be tomorrow because we're going to Glastonbury.
Yeah, we're off to the legendary town of Glastonbury tomorrow to go and we're going to go and see the caterer for the Great British Meetup. Ashley, we're going to go and buy some Barnsley chops from him, which are a lamb chop over here, and have those in the evening. And then we're off to get in contact with our mystical side in the ancient town of Avalon of Glastonbury. And yes, that's going to be a nice day out tomorrow. So looking forward to it.
Very cool. Yeah, sounds like fun. Erin was just saying she finally figured out that she had a problem with the egg whites. Yeah, that took some time to adjust. Yeah, I mean, most people don't think about it, but yeah, like if there is a problem with eggs, it's usually going to be in the egg whites, not the yolks. But some people do also have a problem with the yolks. But
yeah. But I had to stop eating them when my gallbladder was going. I could not eat egg white. I can only eat the yolk.
Yep.
And it's just stuck ever since, because that was 18 years ago plus, and I've never had an egg white since.
Yeah,
that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean,
2008, I remember it well.
Yeah.
And for me, for my story behind egg whites is one of histamine reaction. I was eating a lot of eggs, steak and eggs and steak. And I was noticing I was itching terribly at night, cut out the eggs, and the itching is much reduced, not quite completely, but much reduced. I've got to try and work out. It's probably coffee is the other problem, but I haven't been brave enough to give that one up yet. So yeah, egg whites for me, definitely the histamine reaction. So we don't have eggs in the house anymore, not even duck eggs. When we love duck eggs, duck eggs are very good for you, highly recommended, but we don't have them in the house anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very much nuanced. Like I said, most people do have a problem. If they have a problem with eggs at all, it's usually going to be the whites, not the yolks so much. But even some people have a problem with the yolks as well. So you just never know. Yeah. Your body also digests summer-based fruits, for example, like watermelon, better by summer due to a higher need than, say, eating watermelons by winter. Yes, that's true. Though you always can since it's modern time. Yeah, well, that's right. Another thing is like watermelons are not watermelons anymore either. Like watermelons used to be like the size of an apple. All right, they were tiny. Now that there's ginormous bloody seedless things, they're all genetically modified foods now. These are all man-made foods. And yeah, you're right. Like in summer, you can get away with eating that stuff because, like I said, you sweat out the deuterium. But again, the fructose level is the problem. Is the next big problem because that directly attacks your liver, basically. So it depends. Yes, you can. Most people can get away with it. That's neither here nor there. For most people, just depends on what your condition is like as well. So, Jonathan, how you doing, brother? Good to see you. Always good to see Jonathan here. I've got some people arriving. Speaking of carnivore as well, would you go for raw meat and generally just eating raw things, raw dairy, raw veggies, raw meat, raw eggs? A bit risky, though I feel with this maybe. Well, George here eats a lot of raw meat. He eats his meat raw. I don't. I eat it. I do cook it, but I pretty much like to have I like to have the bit outside sort of bit charred, but inside almost raw. And then I'll eat it cold because the texture of the fat is much better when the fat is cold. Eggs, I have chicken, so I have fresh eggs, and I will have them raw. And I like dipping the meat in the raw egg, for example, especially the yolk. Raw vegetables are going to be a problem because you have a lot of oxalates and other things that are a problem with that. If if you're going to have any kind of vegetables, the best way to have them is fermented. And I have recommended in the past people use sauerkraut but that's largely because, like, for example, cabbage is one of those things that will not digest if it's raw, for example. The body cannot break it down. But if it's fermented in salt, which is what sauerkraut is, you're going to get a lot of electrolytes, okay, from that because of the salt, right? So sometimes, if people do have gut issues, I have found that sauerkraut is very good for that. But I think that's because of the electrolyte balance of it, because it's quite high. I used that when I had bad IBS going through or coming out of chemotherapy. Okay, I used to use a probiotic, but then I went over to sauerkraut, and that was much better. Actually, it's very cheap. It's almost negligible price. Like it's like a 500-gram jar is like $3 or $4 here in Australia. But that cured, or not so much cured, that managed my IBS. Before that, I was going like upwards of 6, 8, even sometimes 8 times a day. So that was a big help. So if you're going to eat any vegetables, I would have fermented version of it, and be careful what they're fermented in. See, sauerkraut is really good because it's just fermented in salt, okay, and just salt. Some have other things added to it, so you got to be careful about that. But kimchi, for example, like the Koreans say, is really good, but they're fermented in all kinds of sauces and so on that might have seed oils and so on in it. So be careful about that too. When it comes to eating raw eggs, I don't use store-bought or eggs for raw. The eggs are laid today, sort of thing. I'll eat that. That's about it. So, how about you, George?
Yeah, obviously it's the question. I mean, the thing, interesting, myself and Lainey were having a conversation last night about raw carrot sticks and raw celery and raw cucumber, and it virtually triggered me. As you probably know, Dave, these are known as crudités in France, and I worked quite a long time in France, and I used to love the crudités, the raw veg, especially with a dip of some sort. Yeah, I very rarely get triggered for a desire for vegetable nowadays, but that conversation did. But I won't be going back to eating them. But yeah, crudités are a recognised hors d'oeuvre in France. That's interesting. Raw dairy, not something I've got much experience of. Raw meat, yeah, I need to qualify that because the raw meat that I eat is steak only, and it tends to be it's steak, and it tends to be lamb leg steak or any of the beef steaks, really. I haven't tried venison steaks raw yet, on account of the fact that we tend to have them as premium meat, and Lainey likes to cook the premium meat. Okay. But I wouldn't eat any monogastric meat, including poultry and obviously pork raw, and things like briskets that require slow cooking. And shoulder, then Lainey cooks those as roasts. Although I have recently discovered, which something caught me by surprise, a product called braising steak here in the UK, which is supposed to be a tough stewing steak. I think it's known as chuck steak elsewhere in the world. That is actually very tender and very easy to eat and raw. And it's a lot cheaper than sirloin, rump, or a ribeye. Therefore, I'm now eating quite a lot of chuck steak raw. The only problem is it's not quite as fatty as sirloin or a ribeye. So I'm adding butter or I'm adding tallow to it. But yeah, it's a cheap alternative, really. I think in some places
depends on the sauce. Like I've found like some of the local places where I get chuck steak, it's not as fatty as the stuff you get from Costco, for example, here in Brisbane. There, the chuck steak is very thick, and the fat is very marbled, kind of like Wagyu.
It's definitely a cheap alternative. If you want to eat raw, it's definitely a cheap alternative to sirloin or ribeye. That's that's what I'm mainly eating at the moment. Braising. It's called braising steak in the UK. It's known as chuck steak elsewhere around the world.
Yeah. Erin says on her latest experiment, babies, toddlers, stuff breastfeeding at 3 years and 5 months. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, Erin. If anybody doesn't know Erin Booby Goat, she's 40 years of age. I don't know if you won't mind me saying that. She looks about 22, and she is responsible for a rather large brood of children. So she's very experienced.
Yeah, she has her own village, so
she does. Yeah, in fact, she is one short of a soccer team, so she better go. Maybe she can produce another one and have her own soccer team, the Booby Goat soccer team. So there we go.
She says, found the interview with Amber O'Hearn. Yeah, good. Yeah, Amber's brilliant. She's really good. Hey, Cynthia's here. Hello. Good to see
Cynthia,
you.
My Iowa friend. Absolutely, she's my
one thing you
one
can
friend
do.
in Iowa that I know of.
One thing you can do also, if you don't like the taste or smell of organs, is have them in supplement form, like with liver or heart. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's not really a big need to have organ meat, but if that's what you want, I mean, I think Kilts has a liver supplement. Is it?
He does, and also I've got a friend over in the States who produces something called Pluck. Can't remember, James Barry, I think his name is. That's ground, that's dry, that's freeze dried ground organ meat. So it becomes out like salt. In other words, so it's flakes, and you can add that to your meat as well. And that is purely ground. He has also added spleen, lungs, and pancreas into it, so it's all the organs. So that's an interesting one as well. Rather expensive, apparently, but it is available out there. For myself, Lainey, when she does me air fried ground or minced beef, she will chop up liver, heart, and kidney and add it in as well, which I then eat cold, so that the fat goes solid, because I don't eat rendered fat anymore. And that's a really nice, I like it, minced beef, ground beef with added kidneys, heart, and liver. Let the fat go cold, float to the surface, and then it becomes a solid white mass, which I eat like other people eat chocolate. So that's my take on that.
I agree.
Question, on chat that I take ox bile supplement. And he asked me how I get on with it, and I said I take it because I have no gallbladder. Obviously, I'm on a lot of medications because of the cancer, and I suffered terribly with diarrhea. And I have found, I've got to say, is settled that.
Oh, that's good.
I take it just about half an hour before I eat anything. And coincidence or not, I don't think it is. It is really settled the digestive system, pumping it through me. So I take it every day, the ox bile.
Oh, that's good.
I recommend.
Yeah. I mean, like for me, it was sauerkraut really helped with that, but I don't use it anymore. But
the ox bile was a recommendation from Nelson Vasquez, Dr. Nelson Vasquez, and at the same time, he also recommended digestive enzymes in supplement form. But Lainey hasn't gone down that route. She just settled for the ox bile.
Oh, if you don't need to, that's good. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. Okay, a bit of a sensitive topic, but what's your take on things like pornography, masturbation, semen retention, erectile dysfunction, and sexuality relating to health in general? Okay, again, like I'm not into pornography. I'm not into masturbation either, but when it comes to but that's a personal choice. I don't really care what other people do in their bedroom. That's up to them. But when it comes to erectile dysfunction and sexual health, libido wise, okay. So I was talking about this before. Apart from the sex hormones like the estrogen and testosterone, testosterone being very important for both male and females for libido, the next most important thing is nitric oxide and CO2. I did write a Substack article on this. I will post it for you, because the interaction of nitric oxide and CO2 for libido and sexual health, like sexual organs, or sorry, sexual hormone production is vitally important. It's not just about testosterone and estrogen. Okay, so here is an article you can read. I'll just post that here. Okay. Now, CO2 and nitric oxide play a very big role in that, and that's why things like cold therapy and breath work are also very important. Not just, it's not just about getting the right amount of cholesterol and fatty acids to help you with that sort of stuff as well. So I'll post that in the chat. There we are. And where are we? Okay, Lenny, Oxbow is interesting. How has it been? Yep. Okay, good. And okay. Hello, lovelies. Hello there. Thanks for joining us. Just pop down to all these. Say that I am listening to you from work and will be unable to chat. Carry on. Fair enough. Very good.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for giving us permission to carry on. We will do. That'll be great. Sorry we missed your live earlier, by the way, but we were busy.
Yeah. So, Laney, you're a storyteller too. I thought that was George's thing.
It rubs off from me. I think that's what it is.
I'm not a storyteller.
I think she has to speak up though, otherwise George will just keep speaking over the top.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah, so there's no point. I just sit there quietly.
Yeah. I used to avoid egg whites like the plague when I was younger and never liked the taste of them, which is why I had to have them as omelette instead. Yeah, boiled. Couldn't bother with the whites. Yeah, I was kind of the opposite, because I was, especially like after uni is like, the yolks are where all the cholesterol is, so you got to avoid all that sort of thing. So I used to have egg white omelets full of veggies and stuff. It was disgusting, no taste sort of omelets. It was horrible. Hey, Annabella, good to see you. Thanks for joining us today. Hello, everyone. Good to see you, Annabella. I had an epic breakfast today. 2 hamburger patties, nice. 6 bacon rashers, 2 eggs, plus 1 teaspoon of butter. That sounds lovely. That sounds very good. Question: steak tend to be aged. Do you have any problems with the histamines by eating them? I believe you said you don't eat eggs due to histamines. That would be George and Laney. Yeah. Don't eat the eggs due to histamines. Do you have any problem with aged steak or anything?
Not that I'm aware of. Nothing we've noticed. We do use a butcher down a bit south of us who says that he has a customer who has a real problem with aged histamine problems, and she can only buy pork on a Friday when it comes in to him less than 24 hours slaughtered. So she has a standing order on a Friday for pork, but she can't eat the beef or the lamb. So that's one story that I do know of about that.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many different things that we have to. They cause so many different problems around our environment at the moment. Like, everyone says a conspiracy theory, but like the WEF, like they literally came out saying that they've been working on ticks to make us all allergic to beef, for example. But there are nuances. There's always going to be a nuanced or an exception to the rule as well. Some people just cannot handle eating beef, like that lady, obviously, unless it's like fresh, like kill it yourself and eat it that day, sort of thing. So it'd be difficult, very difficult for someone like that, I think. Please, come over. Let me see. Oxbol just sounds super gross to me. Does sound pretty bad. Yeah, supplement form may be all right. Yeah,
Can't taste it.
yeah. Supplement form is always going to be much easier, though, isn't it?
I can't stand liver, heart, and kidney in that.
Lainey,
Yeah.
are you going to tell the world how you take your collagen supplements, what they look like?
No.
You're not? Okay. Fair enough. Anybody ever heard the term gummy bears?
Okay.
Raspberry gummy bears, and they're delicious, and they just are the highlight of my day because I don't eat anything sweet apart from them. So I have 2 gummy bears, and that's my treat.
And they're not ordinary gummy bears. They are collagen
collagen.
supplement gummy bears. And since she's been taking them, Lainey's hair and skin and nails have noticed they improve. So
Hair
yeah. There he goes. Saying we need to change the names of carnivoric foods. Yeah. I mean, I must admit, like the name ox bile sounds pretty bad.
Yeah.
So,
It does, yeah.
yeah. And bile reminds me of the dry heaves. Let me see. Oxtail is so good there. Yeah, oxtail is so good there. Don't waste any shit.
I like oxtail. I do like oxtail.
Has anybody around the world, we're into the truly international here, has anybody else noticed how much it's gone up in price in the last couple of years? Because it used to be a really good go-to budget meat, but not anymore over here anyway.
All meat's gone up.
Yeah.
I'm on a break from cleaning, organizing organizing for my move. It's nice to be with the lovely carnivores. Yeah, I hope that's going well, Annabella. Hope you find a place to live soon. Lainey's a good wife, and lets George talk away. Yeah, she absorbs, and she's the sponge. Okay.
Absolutely.
I am a sponge.
Anybody who doesn't know Terry, then she and I have a very strong friendship, and Terry does like to comment on me and Lainey quite a lot, and she's absolutely right, of course.
But I never forget either. I'm an elephant.
That's dangerous. That's dangerous, George.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah. They're all like that, though. Yeah, they'll you start having a fight with someone and with your wife, and they'll bring up something from 15 years ago.
Yeah, and then he goes, "I never said that." Yes, you did.
I deny everything until So there we go. So just deny everything. That's the easiest way.
I told him I'm going to start recording him when he says things, and then when he says, "No, I didn't say that," I'll go, "Yes, you did."
Yes.
Yeah, I remember like 18 years ago, I ate some of my wife's ice cream, and she still reminds me of that.
Terry, you don't live with him.
Terry says that she loves me, and I love her back very much. But as Lainey says, she doesn't have the misfortune of being married to me, so she only sees me on the screen.
They're great to visit.
This is my public persona, my screen persona.
Yeah. Very much so.
Talking of forgetting things, Dave. I want to point out that it's now been exactly just over a year. It was a year on March 17th since I gave up alcohol, so I can no longer. Lainey can no longer say, "Oh, you were drunk when you said it." You remember it because I haven't had a drink now for over a year. I went from alcoholic to zero overnight when I overdid it basically, and I didn't look back. Nobody believed me, probably not me even, but here I am, a year and 3 days on with no alcohol, and awesome. Very much better for it, and the bank account is a lot better for it as well. So it's really good.
Yeah, it's amazing how much you drink, isn't it? Like think about the money wise, like it's crazy. I don't know how people in Australia can afford to drink. Honestly, it's so expensive over here. Like in Japan, alcohol is dead cheap. I mean, it could be a problem for if you're a drinker. I'm not a drinker, so it's not a problem. But like you can go to like any convenience store, like to go to 7-Eleven, just or they even have vending machines with beer in it, right? Like and cocktails and stuff. I can just go to a vending machine. But I mean, just like 100 meters from where I used to live, there was a vending machine that had a 2-liter can of beer Asahi super dry beer for $4, right? For 2 liters, right?
Yeah.
You can go to a convenience store, like get some cold cocktails or anything like for like $1 each, 500 ml cans. Whereas here, it's like, $10 for a can. It's crazy. I don't know how they can afford it. It's nuts.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing. How have you been liking the platform Substack as well? I like I like writing articles because I find it much easier to go into more detail, and it's easier for me to explain things writing them out rather than trying to speak and talk about it. Yeah, like I said before, my brain's a bit mushy these days. But I have ADHD, and it sort of can be difficult to talk about the things as well as I write about them. So I like it for that reason. Do you eat until you are totally stuffed, like Dr. Ken says? I don't do that for the most part. Yeah, I do pretty much. I eat till I'm full most of the time. Depends on what I'm doing. Like if it's going to be before a workout session, not so much. I'll eat enough that I'm comfortable. But afterwards for dinner, I try to eat until I am really full, and that's about it. But like pre-workout, not so much. Like pre-workout, I might have like a half meal sort of thing, and then afterwards dinner will be like as much as I can eat, and if there's leftovers, I'll eat that the next morning before I go to the gym or something. I've only heard of it more recently. I'm not sure what that was referring to. I must have been a rebel because I always had the yolks as a teenager. Yeah, I just wish I didn't eat the sugar. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. My only problem with aged steak is not having enough. Yeah, fair enough. Laney may absorb all that George says, but I seen her give it back to him. Oh yeah, she gives it back. She gives just as good as she takes. Don't worry about that.
Cynthia again. Actually, I remember the first time I met Cynthia was actually on this channel in the autumn of 2024. So me and Cynthia, we go back a year and a half now, which is really nice. She's I'll say my Iowa friend over in the States.
Yeah, Cynthia's great.
Yeah.
Egg whites bug me too. I only leave a small part of it on my fried eggs. When I poach them, I can eat the whole egg. So it has something to do with how much white goes away in the poaching process. Yeah, that could be it too. I find that too when you fry eggs, they actually they absorb a lot of the fat. Okay. So when you eat them, the fried eggs, you're eating a lot of rendered fat as well, which could be another reason why they tend to go straight through you. All right. So I think it's just I think a lot of it comes down to the rendered fat as well. But it depends on, I mean, obviously some people have histamine problems with the whites as well. So, yeah. And these, yes, oxtail was cheap. Carnivore diet was made. It's made prices of beef and salmon skyrocket. Yeah, I don't think it's really the carnivore diet that's done that. I think it's more the economy. But yeah, I got a free lamb roast. Oh, nice. Woolies overcharged me. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a different type of.
I'm showing my age, but I remember when oxtail used to be at most 50 cents a pound. Wow.
Yeah, it was over there. It's really cheap, and now it's not.
Yeah. Well, I generally find like America's prices are very cheap compared to Australia, though.
Oh, yeah, it might be Australia, but we were watching Barbara from Grandma's Crochet Corner do a shop the other day, and we were shocked by the prices in America compared to the UK. it was really quite. They were dramatically more expensive. So yeah, I feel sorry for you guys over and across the pond. Yeah, everybody coming to move to the UK for a carnivore because it's cheaper than the USA and it's definitely cheaper than Australia.
Yeah, Australia is crazy. Like it's you can buy beef in Japan cheap, like Australian beef cheaper in Japan than you can buy it in Australia.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, I think Australia's probably got a worse woke culture than even the UK has at the moment.
It's pretty bad. It's shockingly bad. I think the cows must have swam there though, because they must have saved on transport.
Right? Yeah.
Now the meat prices have gotten so bad that and probably going to get worse. Do you think the art of cattle rustling will come back? Yeah, so a man can feed his family. You might be right. Yeah, might be a few cattle rustlers going about soon. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's actually it is a serious problem here in the UK. Every now and again, you hear that a farmer has lost a whole field of sheep. There's more sheep than cows because they're easier to manage, but he will lose a whole field of lambs overnight that get taken away. So it is. Terry, it probably is a problem over in the States as well. So Terry has got a valid point there. Interesting.
Yeah. Are you going to Kalamazoo this year?
Yep.
Yes, we are indeed going to Kalamazoo this year.
As long as the planes are going.
As long as the planes are flying, yeah. I mean, that's another thing about giving up alcohol because basically, since I've just declared myself the global ambassador to the carnivore world, I was over in Wyoming last year. We're going to Michigan this year. Next year is possibility of Colombia because Alia Wells is talking about hosting one. And then, Dave, as you know, we are going to be chasing you back to Japan so we can go and meet up with yourself and Dave Mack in. Well, I think we're going to the Miyagi province with you, and then we're going to meet Dave in Tokyo. That's my understanding of it. Anyway, I did warn him on Facebook the other day. He didn't love it, but he did give me a thumbs up. So there you go, Dave. if you're watching, just to confirm. Thanks for the thumbs up, mate. I could have done the love heart though when I told you I was going to come and see you.
He doesn't want you to go. I'm going. I'm going.
My Japanese wife loves rice and vegetables too much, but is open to keto and carnivore. How should she ease into it? Actually, I was talking about this earlier on. Any kind of dietary change like that. I mean, like Japanese are always used to eating a lot of meat too. Like they do eat a lot of rice and vegetables and flour stuff too. Like, eczema is a very big problem in Japan because they eat a lot of white flour in recent years, the last 100 years, because of noodles and shit. Especially the processed stuff. But again, to ease into any kind of diet, just make small changes, increase the meat intake, and everything else will balance out. Because once you eat, like when you start eating a lot of meat, you're just naturally going to eat a lot less of the other stuff, right? So that's what I would do. Just start increasing your meat intake and let the rest of it just sort of fall aside very slowly, I don't think you'll have too much trouble though, because I mean, Japanese they'll eat nose to tail as well. They eat like all kinds of meat even the bowels and stuff like that. So I don't think you'll have too much trouble. But yeah, like I said, just ease into it slowly. Increase your meat intake, and the rest of it will just slowly decrease anyway. So, very simple process, really. Just don't do it overnight. It's not good for your gut to do that. Cynthia, yes, definitely coming to Kalamazoo. Good.
That is the plan.
I wasn't near the field where the lambs were. So, okay, it wasn't me. Yeah,
it wasn't me, Gov. Honestly,
so
not everything. I don't know everything until they got you back to rights.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Annabella. She's been talking about eating a lot of lamb recently.
Yeah, it's very true, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's in Queensland, isn't she? So if there is a bit of a Queensland lamb,
it's a bit of a commute.
We know where to look, don't we? So,
yeah, I think so. Yeah, eat meat first. Yeah, that stuff second. Yeah, exactly.
That's very good advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the advice I actually gave to a guy who's that I was on the training course with today. He said, I do like my chips, otherwise known as French fries. And I said, well, just when you get the steak and then the chips on the side, concentrate on the steak, and you'll probably find that you won't be able to eat the chips. And so he's going to go away and try that. So be interesting.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good way to start. Yeah, like I said, like when you always increase, like when you first start, just always increase your meat intake. But it's a good idea to eat the meat first. That way,
I mean, one of the common questions I get is when I eat out of the restaurant, what do you have as sides? What do you have as sides? I have more meat. And they say, what do you mean? What about the chips? I say, well, the places where I do eat out, they got to know me now, and they'll often offer me bacon or eggs as a side versus the more traditional French fries or mushrooms or peas. So it works for me. I've got them trained. I've got them trained locally. That's good.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's a good point, though. If they ask you for a side, they say, well, just slap another steak on there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's we've actually got a gastro pub just up the road, which is a chain. It's really quite cheap. You can get an 8-ounce sirloin for 11 English pounds, which is about 20 Australian dollars. Yeah. So you know it's not exactly expensive. So you can go along, and you can just have two. So you can buy twice and just have two sirloins on a pound of sirloin on the plate for 22 English pounds, or which is pretty good for a restaurant in my view.
Yeah,
and it's grilled as well. It's not fried in seed oils.
I think actually I just want to go back to my Japanese wife. I think also try to remind your Japanese wife, that there is zero reason to eat rice and vegetables, like that you don't get any vitamins and nutrients or anything from vegetables anyway. Okay, so that might also help as well. Let me see. Yeah, look up your lambs. Here comes Annabella. Exactly, George. Yeah. Ronnie Big is a cousin of my dad.
Ronnie Biggs.
On my dad's side of the family. So
if Ronnie, just let me explain to our American friends. Ronnie Biggs was one of the great train robbers who did a bunk to South America, but then he got so homesick that he decided to come back and end his life in an English jail. So I think he passed away some time ago now. But Ronnie Biggs was very famous for being one of the great train robbery and then doing a bunk to South America. I never
really understood that. Like, how homesick do you get that you decide to go back and just spend the rest of your life in the jail? Like, it's.
I think he might have run out of money as well, and basically, at least you get free medical care and free food in English jail. So I think that was his retirement plan, his pension plan, come the end of the day.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, you might be right. Bacon is my favorite salad.
Exactly,
yeah. Annabella, the sheep stealer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The rustler, absolutely.
There's a fantasy to ask for another steak instead of all the sides. Yeah, there's a fantasy. Yeah, but those sides add up to almost the same money in some cases. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
we should try that. Ask for another steak instead. Yeah, I mean, by the time you get like these sides, they usually have like a salad and some French fries or like a roast potato or something like that. So this is like try a different cut of steak or something, or smaller cut maybe. Yeah. My mum's neighbor has had a lamb that's gone into mum's yard. She feeds the sheep next door. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Entice them in and make them disappear.
Yeah, make them come to you.
Send them to freezer camp, as I heard somebody.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm at almost 3 hours now. So,
sorry, Dave. Did he say you started an hour and a half early tonight?
Yeah,
an hour and a half early. Okay, so I jumped in very late in that case, but we've had a good time.
Well, usually I usually start here at 9:30 because at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning I have a Japanese lesson once a week.
Okay.
They're on holidays this week, so I thought I would start this early, thinking that I'd get away early. But I'm still here.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't jump in till 9:30 your time, which is the usual
9:30.
time.
Yeah.
So that took me completely by surprise. But at least I suppose it gave people an hour and a half without me this week, so must be quite nice.
That's called sheep trafficking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, a bit of that going on around.
Yeah. Annabella's setting off as well, Dave. So there we go.
Yeah, sorry, Annabella.
Annabella both, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Send us the memo, for God's sake. Send us the memo, and then we can get ourselves sorted out.
Yeah. All right, guys. So if you've got any questions, or if I think we might just leave it there. I think 3 hours is enough for today, don't you think?
Just to flag up the fact that if you want to carry on the house party, then I think Barbara at Grandma's Crochet Corner, I think she's going live in about 9 minutes or 8 minutes time. So
okay,
we can all. Barbara always sends her audience to your house, Dave. So we can do the reverse. We can send everybody to Barbara's house.
If you want to carry on, there's Barb will be going live very soon. So yeah. Thank you, Cynthia. I really appreciate that. Love you too, Annabella. You're great. He was trying to avoid you, George.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't believe it. I thought I came because I always sleep before coming on with Dave because of the time here. I came down and I sort of got my phone, got ready to think, when's Dave going live? And there he was in full flow. Jeannie had already turned him down and said she wasn't in a position to come on tonight. So anyway, here I am. Yeah, you won't be able to keep me away now.
Yeah, that's good. Cynthia says now she's doing some fancy push-ups. Excellent, Cynthia. Well done. Good job. Yeah, I'm very proud of you. Well done. I might even post some fancy ones for you soon. Actually, I might do a video on that now that you're bringing that up, and we'll see how you go. Okay. Time for the next level. All right. Thanks, Annabelle. You have a great weekend, everyone. Oh, you're very welcome, Terry Gore. Anytime. Always happy to impart some information if you need it. Yep. See you soon, Lainey. Take care. Thanks, everyone, for joining me. It's been a great live, and we'll see you again next week. Okay.